Yes, we have a housing crisis in Toronto, and if you've watched me talk before, you might even feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record. But the thing is, people weren't so sure whether we had a demand or a supply issue just a few months back. Right now, the Trudeau government is finally admitting that our housing crisis is because of a lack of supply in their latest 2022 federal budget, where they've allocated $9 billion of their $10 billion housing budget to address housing supply in Canada. But supply is not all the same. Our provincial and municipal governments are now hinting that affordable housing supply needs to meet a specific criteria, and what we've been doing in the past just isn't enough. So in this video, let's take a closer look to see what kind of supply is really needed, and then based on this, how you can steer your investment decisions better as a real estate investor in Toronto. Before I start, if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that you can see more videos like this made specifically for real estate investors in Toronto. Let's take a deeper dive into the federal budget for 2022 for housing, which is front and center in Chapter 1. They make it pretty clear that we have a housing supply issue in the first chart of the chapter, stating that Canada has fewer homes per capita compared to the world average. Honestly, I don't think the argument is as strong for Canada as a whole though, because we're actually in a similar situation in terms of homes per capita compared to the US, but our country's housing prices as a whole has been increasing much quicker than the US. The bigger difference comes down to the individual cities, and of course, Toronto is where the lack of supply is truly happening. In Toronto, we're at 360 homes per 1,000 people compared to a national average of 424 and a global average of 462. This is the fundamental reason why Toronto real estate prices have been going up so quickly in the past 10 plus years. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the focus of the federal housing budget is to increase housing supply, which takes up $9 billion out of the $10 billion total budget. After combing through the details, I see two clear objectives. First, the government wants to focus on building up density and building it quickly with a $4 billion budget allocated towards a new housing accelerator program combined with a separate $750 million budget to improve transit infrastructure for these denser neighborhoods. It seems like the approach here is to continue to focus on building density in cities, which makes sense. We've seen in the past that people want to live in cities, and it's not just because of work. They like to be close to entertainment and the action, and so as our city continues to open up again, people are moving back to the city even though they might not need to work in the office 5 days a week. Then, from an economic standpoint, focusing on densifying cities also makes sense for government spending since the infrastructure will be used by more people, which means a lower infrastructure cost per capita for the city. The other big focus on the federal front is creating more affordable housing. Note that this is a big change compared to what the federal government proposed during the elections, which was to help every Canadian buy a home. The tone has changed drastically, but it's now becoming more realistic, and the main focus now is an emphasis on creating more affordable housing supply, which can mean more affordable buying or the more likely affordable rentals. Now, the federal government comes up with the overarching focus, and then things get passed onto the provincial and municipal levels for further action. So let's take a look at the plans from our Ford government. Right around the same time as the federal budget announcement, the Ontario government came up with a new housing bill with the theme, More Homes for Everyone. We can clearly see that Ontario feels that our housing crisis is also primarily caused by a lack of supply. So if you look at their solutions, most of them also have to deal with adding housing supply. The Ontario government echoes a lot of the stuff that the federal government talks about, including increasing density and multi-generational living, but more specifically, the key is to create more affordable housing units by increasing the variety of housing options like multi-unit homes. The problem right now is that you can't convert many single-family homes into triplexes in Ontario because of zoning rules. This is something that is highlighted in a report by the Housing Affordability Task Force that is specifically looking into getting rid of the red tape to make this possible. Let's dive further into Toronto, and here are some quick facts. Housing prices are growing 4 times faster than our incomes, rents are growing 2 times faster than our incomes, and 47% of our Toronto population are currently renters. At this rate, the sad truth is that it's going to be extremely hard to bring purchase prices down so that most renters can afford to buy a home, since prices are way out of reach for many renters now. And even though rents are growing pretty quickly too, I'd imagine that it's an easier goal to create more affordable rental housing for renters, which makes up half of our population. Now let's look at how our city has been increasing new supply. We've actually managed to create a lot of new supply in Toronto, but these have mainly been limited to the condo market, and other more affordable housing options have been on the decline. Now, it's true that the condo purchase price is cheaper than a duplex or a triplex, but that's because you're buying one single unit instead of a bundle of 2 or 3. When you break it up, you'll see that a 2-bedroom condo priced at $850,000 might be rented out for $2,700 per month, whereas a triplex with 3 2-bedroom units might cost almost double at $1.6 million, but each individual 2-bedroom unit in there might rent for $1,800 to $2,200 per month. So each unit in that multiplex is actually much more affordable for renters. There are 2 main reasons why this has been happening. First of all, land in Toronto is scarce, and you can definitely make a lot more money selling hundreds of condos on the same plot of land as opposed to handfuls of low-rise homes. Basically, under the current situation, the multiplex incentives for big builders just aren't there. On the retail investor front, yes, rent yields might be better on a freehold investment. They might get slightly better appreciation and value add opportunities, but multiplexes just aren't affordable for many retail investors. Then, once you add in the element of having to convert these houses into multiplexes, it adds even more capital that a lot of these retail investors don't have enough of, even if they're willing to put in the sweat equity. So, although condos aren't the best real estate investment out there, they're currently the only option that many retail investors are limited to. The City of Toronto has already progressed a lot since a few years ago. We've made it a lot easier to build secondary suites by removing the red tape requirements like parking and allowing all houses and townhomes to build secondary suites, waiving development fees, and gradually easing on some zoning requirements. Toronto has also started to allow laneway suites and made them easier to build over time by eliminating parking requirements on them, waiving development fees, and easing on fire requirements. Next in the pipeline are garden suites, which I have a video here to update you on as well. But now that we know the government's renewed direction is to increase density in existing neighborhoods and create more affordable rentals, what does this mean for you as a real estate investor in Toronto? At this point, I think the next easiest thing for the city to do to increase affordable housing in existing neighborhoods is to remove more of the red tape to allow single-family zoning to be more permissive. Right now, even if someone can afford to build a multiplex, you aren't able to do that in many homes in Toronto because they are zoned as single-family. This should be the fastest and probably the cheapest option to create more affordable rental units in our city. After they deal with the low-hanging fruit, our city might need to encourage more people to convert homes into multiplexes with better incentives. Right now, big-time developers don't think it's worth it, and many retail investors still can't afford to build them. At this point, it's all a guess, but if more of these densification initiatives start to roll out, this just means that we're going to see a lot more interest in buying single-family homes in Toronto from investors. We've always been strong believers in the freehold market in Toronto because of better cash flows and more stable appreciation. But once Toronto single-family homes are allowed to be converted to multiplexes, rent yields can rise more quickly, and this just means these types of homes can grow in price at a faster clip compared to other markets. There's so much more we can say about our love for Toronto freeholds, and more importantly, where you can get the best growth, rent yields, and value add opportunities in Toronto. So if you want to learn more about this, let's chat. We can take a look at your requirements and preferences and then match you up with the best investment property that fits your needs. After we help you buy it, our team also provides renovations guidance, leasing, and property management if you need it. So just connect with us to learn more about our services by heading to the link in the description below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and look for us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn if you want to hear from us more regularly. I wish you all the best in your real estate investing journey. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.